going to sit down and answer the questions from the Q&A video. Got a good response for this, so I'm going to do at least one more. So again, the same thing. Leave questions down in the comments. Don't comment unless you have a question to ask. It just makes it easier to sort through this when I'm sitting here trying to record the video. So, in no particular order other than how they show up in the comments section right now where I'm reading them out of, start answering these. The first question is from Fishing Nate in 928. What is my favorite type of fish to go for? My favorite type of fishing is just walking banks and catching panfish. It's how I relax. I don't make a lot of videos on it. I do it a lot. I'm on vacation this week, and I've done it a lot in the last 2 weeks. I've done it every day this week, and 5 days last week. I just walked. I'll go out when I have to work, I'll go out for like an hour in the afternoon since I work evenings. So I'll go out and just take my ultralight gear, and a lot of the time right now I'm taking flash jigs and either fake waxworms or fake maggots to put on them, and catching a lot of bluegills. Get into some bigger bluegills. Those are what I'm really looking for. I don't want to go walk around and catch 5-inchers all day, but that's mostly what I catch. I'm looking for the big 7, 8, 9-inch bluegills. Got into some small bass every once in a while too, some 8s or so. Every once in a while you do get like a 12-inch bass. Those are fun to catch on the ultralight. That's my favorite type of fish to go for. That's my favorite way to fish. Going after panfish. Next question. Edward Reynolds. Do you ever target other fish like catfish? Catfish specifically, very rarely. I've never gone after like channel cats or anything like that. I'll fish for bullheads on a very rare occasion in the spring. Usually, if you get out there early enough where there's too many mosquitoes, when the bullheads are really coming in and spawning before there's mosquitoes, you can have a lot of fun catching them in the night. I don't do it a lot. I fish by myself mostly, and that's something that, if you're just sitting there in the dark trying to watch a line, you're going to fall asleep. So if you don't have a couple people to hang out with, it's not as much fun. So no, I don't do it a lot. I went carp fishing the other day. I don't do that a lot either. I got gear to catfish and carp fish. I just don't do it a lot. Don't really have a good reason. Just doesn't happen that much. Nature's Fairy, Brenda, asked, who taught me how to fish? I did a lot of fishing when I was a little kid with my father and my grandfather. And then, they got me interested in it. But really most of it was learning on my own. Because really after I was 9, 10 years old, I was out on my own walking along creeks trying to catch fish. So a lot of it's been on my own. And then especially like all the newer stuff, learning how to fish topwater and a lot of the bass stuff, drop shotting, those kind of things. That's all stuff that, I've picked up. You hear drop shotting, so you look up a video, okay, that's how I do it. So a lot of it really is I learned on my own, and a lot of the newer stuff is found a video on the internet, got the basics of it, and then went out and tried it out and figured it out on my own. Another question from Fishing Nate. Who is my favorite band and favorite type of music? Excuse me. For band, I have a hard time not saying Pantera. It's tough because I listen to so many different kinds of music, but Pantera's a band that I can turn on no matter what mood I'm in and want to listen to it. Type of music, I couldn't say that I have a favorite. I listen to a lot of stuff, a lot of different kinds of metal, a lot of old country, like Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, that kind of stuff. Not the new stuff they play on the radio. A lot of different stuff. I listen to a lot of like some of the bands that I listen to a lot right now are bands like Hank 3 and Hellbound Glory, stuff like that, where it's kind of like almost kind of like punk and rock and country all mixed together, that kind of area. That's a lot of stuff that I listen to right now. Still listen to a lot of metal, a lot of like thrash and doom metal. Winky Doodles. I typically don't answer questions unless I've been read my rights and my lawyer is present. But here's one. What kind of bird do you have? That's a cockatiel. Peter was right. He guessed that it was a cockatiel. It's Mr. Bird. He is right around 25 years old. He's out in the living room right now. MOJSMG, Steve. Any plans to do a hunting trip of any sort, or is it just not for you? I have no plans to hunt right now. I'm not a big hunter. I like squirrel hunting a lot. I'd also like to try rabbit hunting. I've never done that. But that's really where I prefer to hunt, is like squirrels, where I can walk into the woods and maybe sit down for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, something like that, wait for a squirrel to show up, and if it doesn't show up, move to a new area and, look there. I enjoy it. I just don't do it a lot. Mostly because lack of people to go with. I got my brother. He hunts a little bit, but it's hard to work out times to go with him. He works days and I work nights. So it's tough to go other than the weekend. And then on the weekends, usually one of us is busy doing other things. So it doesn't work out for it too well. He's got another part. Have you ever played paintball or airsoft? And if so, did you enjoy it? I never have. I've always been semi-intrigued and wanted to. Just never tried it out. Z Wildman. What are your thoughts about killing fish purely for a trophy to be mounted, wasting the meat? Personally, I wouldn't do it. Personally, if I was going to get a mount of a fish, I would get a replica mount. I'm against trophy hunting. I think it's, I'm very much for hunting, and fishing for food. But just the idea of saying, look at this, I shot this, or, it's kind of ridiculous. Okay, what does fishing mean to me? What is it that I love and enjoy about it? I just love how I can relax when I'm out there, and the competition of it with other people that you're with, or trying to, when you're like, if you're sight fishing bass and you're able to see this fish and trick it into biting, that part of it too. What does it mean to me? I don't really know what it means to me. But that's what I really love and enjoy about it, is competing with your buddies when you're out there, who catches the most fish, the biggest fish, whatever, and just being able to get out there and relax and be outside. I enjoy being outside. More questions from D Wildman. Have you ever tried Not Your Father's root beer? I have. It's not bad. For those of you that don't know, it's a root beer. It's way too sweet. I had one of them and it was way too sweet. It didn't taste bad, but I think if I drank two of them, I would have been sick. What's your favorite species to fish for and why? Fish for, I already said bluegills. I'll give you this one. My favorite species to catch is smallmouths. They fight like no other. They fight great. And one of the things I really like about them, half the time when I see them, I just think, oh, that's just a largemouth, and I toss in there and hook it, and then it takes off. Because largemouths are fun to catch, but they don't really fight for the most part. You know, you hook up and you drag them in. Smallmouths, they run all over the place on you. They're a lot of fun. Donald Plank, do I like braided line or monofilament? Situationally different. If I'm throwing top water, 99% of the time it's on braid, because most of the time I'm in vegetation and stuff that I've got to be able to get, that I've got to have a line that's going to cut through. Excuse me. So for that is braid. For chatterbaits, I throw mono. For my panfish gear is all mono, or it might be copolymer, but kind of same deal. So I mean, really, it depends on the situation. If I'm drop shotting, if I was going to have a rod specifically set up to or a reel set up to drop shot, it would have braid, and I'd put a fluorocarbon leader on it. But most of my spinning reels are all, actually right now, all my spinning reels other than my carp reel are mono. And then bass reels are half and half. Pro Stone Outdoors. What is my favorite manufacturer for rods and reels? For rods, I really like 13 Fishing. I also really like Bass Pro. I have a couple carbon lights that I really like, spinning and casting. And then I've got 13 spinning and casting rods. I got all my rods right here, that up there. That's why I'm looking. I actually don't have. I got a couple of them in here. Some of them are outside in the car, though. But I really like the carbon lights from Bass Pro, and I really like the Omens from 13. They're both $120 rods right in that area. Reels, all my bait casters are Bass Pro. I really like those. Mostly because those are what I learned on. They have dual brakes. So when I was learning, I figured that would be the easiest way to learn, is if I could use two brakes rather than just one. They have the dial brake, and they have the pin brakes on the inside of it. And I think they're a really great rod for the price. Generally, I buy the ones that are $80 to $100 in that area. I've got one, I don't remember the make of it, and then I've got a Pro Qualifier that I bought that I think that's the either $90 or $100 reel. It's a really nice one. And then I've got two of the Johnny Morris Signature series that I got during the spring sale. They're either $140 or $160, but then you get them on the spring sale and they take like $30 off, and then if you do the trade-in, you get another like $20 off or something. So you get a great deal on them. And then spinning reels, I really like the Shimano Symmetries. They're a great reel, right around the $100 mark. Those are what I really like for spinning reels. G-Man Lip Ripper. Tats, how many do you have? And how many artists have worked on your stuff? 52. Artists, rough guess is 8. If I sat down, if I sat with a pen and paper, I could name them all. But I forgot I was going to do that. Actually, I forgot about it. And now it would take kind of too long. Another question from him. Other hobbies besides fishing and lure making? I really enjoy geocaching. I like being out in my kayak, exploring new places in it. Light hiking. Like, I don't do anything really extreme. The biggest I do is there's a spot I've pointed out in a couple of my videos from Lab Pond where I point up on the hill and there's a clearing. We'll climb up there. That's like 1,000-foot elevation change over a mile walk. So it's nothing insane. But it's a little more than flatland walking. But if I say I'm going for a hike, I'm really pretty much just going flatland walking. That's mostly my hobbies. Some other stuff I enjoy doing when it's the weather's shitty around here is miniature wargaming. I haven't played in a few years, but I started getting back into it last winter, and then other stuff came up, and it's all sitting over in the corner right now. And I'll probably get back into it this winter when I'm not fishing as much and stuff like that. But games like Warhammer 40K, stuff like that. Okay, daily diesel dose. What is the strangest thing you have seen while fishing? I have no idea. The only thing that really comes to mind right now is I caught it it's in one of my early panfish videos from this year, or it might be a 10-car video. I'm not really sure, but I was out. It might not even be panfish. It might be a bass video. I can't remember. It was an earlier video from this year where I was in the canal, and there was a 4-inch green sunfish chasing away a snapping turtle. Like a snapping turtle that was trying to come up on the bank right there, and it was going through the nest of the green sunfish. And that green sunfish was spinning around, biting it in the face, biting its tail all over it, and chased it right out of the nest. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen while fishing. Peter from Beyond the Cane Pole. Even though I'm friends with you on Facebook, I've not figured out these related questions. Is there a Mrs. Mike and any mini Mikes? No, not right now. No girlfriend or wife or anything, and no kids. I do have a niece, though, and that's pretty cool. She's a little over a year, almost a year and a half. Have a lot of fun spending time with her. If you're Facebook friends with me, that's the baby that you see in my pictures, is my niece. Juanello, 1946. Have I always lived in northern New York? And do I do any ice fishing? I have lived within a 10-mile radius of where I was born my whole life. I've lived in 3 different towns here. But I've always lived within 10 miles of the first house I grew up in. I've never ice fished. I have I have a little interest in it and trying it, but not enough to actually, get anybody to take me out there. I got a lot of friends that do and offer to take me, and then it never pans out. I'm tough to get motivated to go sit outside in the cold. Ron C. On average, how many times a week do I go fishing? 4 or 5. Some of you know the general area that I live in. I live in a 15-minute walk from the canal, and the creek is right behind my house. 15 minutes to the canal. So I can go out there every day in the afternoon if I want to, walk out there, fish for an hour, and walk back, and then get ready and go to work. And then of course I only fish generally April through October. The rest of the year it's too cold and there's ice and stuff like that. But on average during the summer, I'd say 4 times a week. There's a lot of weeks where I fish every day, but then there's a lot of weeks where I just don't feel like going for a walk or something like that, and I'll only go once or twice. Midwest Fishing Show. If you like beer, what is your favorite kind? I'm not a huge beer drinker. I drink Miller Lite. If I'm at a cookout or having a bonfire or something like that, drink Miller Lite. If I'm at the bar drinking gin and tonic, usually Beefeater. I also like Tanqueray. I also like Bombay Sapphire, but mostly Beefeater. Or if I'm there and we're going to have a lot of drinks, then it's just the cheap bar gin. Bulldog Fishmaster asks, why do I like the Raiders? When I was a little kid, before I really followed football, and I just kind of knew it was around, I was a Dolphins fan because I liked their colors, and they had Dan Marino. I got a little older, and when I was probably 8th grade or freshman year of high school, 8th or ninth grade, is when I really started following football, and I really don't know why I picked the Raiders. I just did, and then I've always liked them ever since. Excuse me. JT Fishing. Is fly fishing hard? I kind of want to try. It is not hard. It takes practice, and it can definitely be frustrating. But if it is, if you have the ability to give it a shot, definitely give it a shot. If you know somebody that you can try their stuff. And if not, if you can pick up a cheap combo, you can pick up, cheap's a relative term. You can get a cheap combo for $80 to $100 with everything you need from like Bass Pro or Cabela's, something like that. And you can, it's a solid belief that everybody in the country lives within a half an hour of being able to catch bluegills. Whether it's a drive or a walk or whatever. There's a lot of people live in those little like suburban neighborhoods that they have sprung up all over the place. And they have all the retention ponds. All those hold bluegills. And then any creek or pond or anything in your neighborhood, most of those hold bluegills. Creeks are a little tougher just because most of the time they've got a lot of branches around. But if you can get to any open area and practice casting, also a lot of places like Cabela's and Bass Pro and the bigger chain stores like that all offer casting lessons, and a lot of your, if you have a local fly shop, they'll definitely give you some pointers on casting and stuff like that too. It's not hard. It's a little learning curve, and then, you can get proficient fairly easily. To get proficient, to get to be like a master caster, that takes years. But to get proficient enough to be able to go out and have fun catching bluegills, that's not that difficult. And I definitely encourage you to try it out. Also, have you gone ocean fishing by any chance? No, never. I've been to the ocean once. I've seen it a few times, but the only time that I've actually been to the ocean was once. We had a fire instead. We went down and had a fire and had a couple beers. Live and cut bait with Jerry and Max. Do you like football? Yes, I do. Oakland Raiders. And then for college, Florida State Seminoles. I also like TCU in college. I've liked them ever since Tomlinson played for them, which was probably 15, 16 years ago now, like late 90s. And then, he ended up going to San Diego, and I didn't like him anymore, but loved watching him in college. Blood Knot 101. What do you do for a living, and have you had other jobs before the current one? Right now I work at UPS. I load tractor trailers there. I've been there for 10 and a half years. Other jobs, I worked for the local DPW here, the Department of Public Works, the guys that go around and pick up your brush and your trash and that kind of stuff. Back then we also poured sidewalks. They don't do as many sidewalks now. But I worked for them for 4 summers, and then I worked there for a winter where I ran a snowblower on a pond so that people could ice skate. SOS 7979. What is my favorite fly for bass and bluegill with tenkara? Foam spiders. 100% foam spiders. Is it the most effective? No. It's my favorite. It's easy. You'll catch a lot of fish with them, and I love topwater. Most effective would probably be there's ones like sinking spiders, like chenille body with rubber legs. Those work great. Yeah, but favorite is definitely a foam spider, or like a foam cricket, anything like that kind of thing that floats, has foam and rubber legs. Those are my favorites. Blood Knot 101. Did you plan the tattoo package from the beginning as a whole, or did it evolve piece by piece? Most of it is piece by piece. I mean, all of it's really piece by piece, except like my leg, my right leg from my knee to my ankle is one massive piece. It's all big biomech piece. It's all a bunch of different colors, and so it's one massive thing, but it's still one piece. And then, my chest piece is big, and that was all done at once. The leg was done. Parts of it were done and finished, and then other parts were started. But it was all really... Well, actually, no, it wasn't even really planned together. It was just planned that the whole thing was going to be biomech. And then it was just kind of drawn like this kind of... It just kind of evolved together. The chest piece was one... it's one big piece. It's all a bunch of different Nintendo characters. That it's not 100% finished. It's just mostly finished. I got to add a little bit more and then have finishing color done behind it. Like other big pieces, the throat piece is pretty big. That was all done at once. Like all the line work, and then went back and did colors and shading and stuff. Everything else is really just like patchworked in. Yeah. Just a lot of patchwork stuff. If anybody wants to see the pictures of them, there's a lot of pictures on Facebook, on my Facebook if you're friends with me. I don't have a lot of recent pics of them. I have mostly like older pics of stuff, but there's some stuff on there. And then if anybody wants to see like specific tattoos or anything, just let me know. I'll do my best to show them. That is all the questions for now. I hope everybody enjoyed this. And like I said, we're going to do at least one more. And if I get a good response, we'll keep doing them. If not, then, they'll eventually just fade out. But, yeah. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments section below. That should be it. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody enjoyed it.